Okay, I want you to turn to page 47 in your 3-3 packet, and I'm going to go over the homework word problems, page 47. Okay, so number 1 says the length of a rectangle is 5 less than 3 times its width. Okay, so what I'm going to do is draw a rectangle. I'm going to make the width W. Now, if the length is 5 less than 3 times the width, I make it 3W minus 5. Okay, now there's 2 different ways you can approach this. I could just say the perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width and plug it in. So perimeter is 46. 2 times 3W minus 5 plus 2 times W. So 46 equals 6W minus 10 plus 2W. So 46 equals 8W minus 10 plus 10 plus 10. 56 equals 8W, divide by 8, divide by 8, W equals 7. That's one way I could do it. Now, I defined, by putting it on the rectangle, I defined length as 3W minus 5, and the width was W. So if I know the width is 7, to get the length, I do 3 times 7 minus 5. 21 minus 5 is 16. Okay, now another way to do this is to say, okay, I know how I can get the perimeter. I can just add all 4 sides. So if I add 3W plus 3W is 6W, plus W is 7W, plus W is 8W, right away I can set 8W minus 10 equals 46. And then I can proceed from there. So you can either do it by using the formula, or my preferred method is using a diagram and just adding the W's and the numbers first. Add all 4 sides together, set them equal to the perimeter. Okay, but don't forget at the end you have to give me both the width and the length. Okay, so now let's look at number 2. And number 2 talks about find 3 consecutive even integers whose sum is negative 72. Okay, so now I have to start out by defining my unknowns. So my first consecutive even, then my second consecutive even, and my third consecutive even, and my total. So first, I define my unknowns. Now, when I think about consecutive even integers, I think about 2, 4, and 6. So, what do I have to do to 2 to get to 4? I add 2. What do I have to do to 2 to get to 6? I add 4. So I know if I let this be x, my second consecutive even integer would be x plus 2. And my third consecutive even integer would be x plus 4. So then I get 3x plus 6, and it's going to equal a total of negative 72. So I've defined all of my unknowns, and I've come up with an equation. Now I'm going to solve my equation. Negative 26. So this is where you really have to be careful when you're working with negatives, because if you did this quickly, you might put negative 26, negative 28, negative 30, thinking you're adding 2. But remember, if you're adding 2 to a negative number, it becomes less negative. So this should be negative 24, and this should be negative 22. Now the great thing about this chart is I can say what 6 plus 4 plus 2 is 12. Carry the 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, it's negative 72. And I know my answer is correct. Okay, so that's number 2. Now, I'm going to skip number 3 because it's another perimeter problem, and I'm going to go to number 4. Now, number 4 says, a soda costs 25 cents more than bottled water. I bought 3 waters and 4 sodas and spent a total of $8. How much did a soda cost? Okay, so first I have to define my unknowns. My unknowns are cost of water, cost of soda. So you always have to start by defining your unknowns. It tells me soda costs 25 cents more than bottled water. So if my water is X, my soda is X plus 0.25. Okay, I defined my unknowns. Then it says I bought 3 waters. Well, if 1 water costs X, 3 waters cost 3X. And I bought 4 sodas. The tricky thing here is I'm going to multiply 4 times X plus 0.25. Look what happens if I don't pay attention to parentheses. That would be wrong because the 4 has to multiply both the X and the 25 cents. So remember, if you're multiplying an expression, you always need to use parentheses. Now, my total is $8. So the cost of 3 waters plus the cost of 4 sodas equals $8. So now I distribute. I combine my like terms. I subtract 1 from both sides. So X equals 1, but I'm not done because even though I know a bottled water costs $1, to get the cost of a soda, I have to add 25 cents. So it's $1 and $1.25. Okay? So now let's turn the page and we will do number 5 and number 6. Okay, so number 5 says find 3 consecutive integers whose sum is negative 48. So this is just consecutive. It's not consecutive odd. It's not consecutive even. So if it was odd or even, when I define them, I would define them as x, x plus 2, x plus 4 for both odd and even. This is just consecutive, so it's plus 1 and plus 2. Because think about it, if 3 consecutive numbers, like 1, 2, and 3, what do I do to 1 to get to 2? I add 1. What do I do to 1 to get to 3? I add 2. Now I add my x's, 3x plus 3, and it equals negative 48. So I have my equation. Now I solve my equation. 3x equals negative 51. X equals negative 17. Remember, with the negatives, it's counterintuitive. It's not negative 17, negative 18, negative 19. It's negative 17, negative 16, negative 15. 7 plus 3 is 13. Carry the 1 is 18. Negative 48, it works. Okay, now let's look at number 6. Number 6 says, my brother is 5 years less than twice my age. The sum of our ages is 25. How old is my brother? Okay, so my 2 unknowns are my age and brother's age. So we always start out by defining our unknowns. They also give us a total age. Now, if my age is X and my brother is 5 years less than twice my age, twice my age would be 2x. 5 less than that would be 2x minus 5. The total of these two, x plus 2x minus 5, would be 3x minus 5. And they said it adds up to 25. So that's my equation, and I end up with 3x equals 30, so x equals 10. If x equals 10, 2 times 10 is 20, minus 5 is 15. 10 plus 15 is 25, so it works. Okay, so these charts really help organize your work. Now, let's do number 7. Number 7 is very similar to 6. It says, I have 15 fewer girls in my classes than boys this year. If I have a total of 115 students, how many boys and how many girls? So my unknown is number of boys, number of girls, and total. Well, I know the total, but my unknown is how many boys, how many girls. So the number of boys, I have 15 fewer girls. So if boys is x, x minus 15 is the number of girls. Together, it's 2x minus 15, and that equals 115. So I add 15, 2x equals 130, x equals 65. So if the boys are 65, 15 less than that is 50. 60 plus 50 is 115, and that works. Okay, now we'll do one last problem, and that's number 8. And it says pencil sharpeners cost $15 more than a calculator. If I bought 3 pencil sharpeners and 10 calculators for my classroom and spent $175, how much did each item cost? So my unknown is cost of pencils, cost of calculators, and I have a total. So it says pencil sharpeners cost $15 more than a calculator. So if a calculator is x, my pencil sharpener is x plus 15. Add these two together and I get 2x plus 15. And the total was 175. And I realized right away I did something wrong, because it does not talk about the total. So I was wrong in doing that. So let's go back to what the problem says. It doesn't tell me the total was 175. Well, it does tell me the total is 175. But it tells me I bought 3 pencil sharpeners. So 3 pencil sharpeners would cost 3 times x plus 15. But I also bought 10 calculators, which would be 10x, and that equals 175. So I have to do 3 times the cost of pencils plus 10 times the cost of calculators and set it equal to 175. So 3x plus 45 plus 10x equals 175. I combine my like terms. 13x plus 45 equals 175. I now subtract 45 from both sides. I get 13x equals 130, and x equals 10. So if this is 10 pencil sharpeners, I buy 25. Okay? So this is the end of the video.